payments. Well, Johnny Mercer is one of them, and as you can see, joins me now. Very good evening to you, Mr. Mercer. And let's talk about those trials, those pilots run by Southwark and Croydon. I mean, they're warning about a catastrophe. Do you share their concerns?
I don't, in a way, because look, their data it's already a year out of date. I'm not going to deny that there are serious problems with this, but what I would say is that the government is listening. So since their data was gathered, we have had things. So they specifically refer to social landlords, right? We now have the landlords portal where social tenants can actually go and ask for payments to be made directly to landlords. There are, the same-day advances for people on universal credit. These things are coming in. Look, I'm not going to deny this is a huge challenge, but in places like Plymouth, where the legacy benefits system,
your constituency.
Yeah, my constituency, it defined our city in some ways, and we have to do something about it. And crucially, I think people voted for that. And the evidence shows, and we must be guided by the evidence, that more people are in work under universal credit, that, it has broad support. But yes, we need to be careful about the implementation.
Right, the implementation. And to that end, you went to see the Prime Minister, didn't you, last week?
I did go to see the Prime Minister last week, but look, that's a private meeting. My public tune on this hasn't changed as much as my private tune. I think that, we need to do a bit better in some aspects. There's elements of it, for example, the 7-day wait that I think are just a step too far. I don't think it's in line with a modern, compassionate Conservative party. But listen, this cannot be stopped. We've got to get out there and get this rolled out, because it will make people's lives better, and it is one of the single biggest tools in fighting poverty in some of our constituencies.
Interesting what you said there about compassionate conservatism. Is that a view you believe shared by the Prime Minister, that elements of the implementation do not signal that about the Conservative Party?
I wouldn't comment on the Prime Minister's views. I have a very clear view.
Well, apparently
on the Conservative Party.
This was discussed at Downing Street, was it?
Well, I'm not going to comment on private conversations, but I'm very clear about what the Conservative Party stands for, both now and going forward. A modern, compassionate Conservative Party gets things like this right. So yes, it introduces things around welfare that means people are better off in work, and all the associated benefits of that than they would be on a life.
Okay, and they don't have to go and visit food banks while they're waiting for the payments to come in. So at the moment, all we know outside that conversation is the only changes so far that have been made are that the hotline will not be charged for anymore. That's not going to make a big difference to an awful lot of people. Have you got assurances, or certainly been led to believe, that something will be done in particular about that waiting time for payments?
I haven't had any assurances. I've got no inside track on what is happening. I don't work in DWP. But, all I can do is come out and say what I think is right and what a lot of other colleagues think is right as well. We are behind this policy. This will fight poverty in some of our most deprived constituencies, but let's get it right. Let's take away the elements that are, designed to save money, essentially, without that focus on poverty. Go back to what it was originally designed to do, and let's get on with it, because ultimately, this is about transforming lives, and it's a good policy in that respect.
Well, detail them for me, Mr. Mercer. What are the elements that have to go?
Well, I mean, if you look at some of the data, by the time this is rolled out in 2021, if on current trends, you'll have 250,000 more people in jobs, bringing home a pay packet. The single biggest factor in improving life chances in constituencies like mine is having a job, and this is going to transform that. Ultimately, the British people got to a state, certainly in 2010, where they were fed up with people having a better life on benefit than those who went out to work every day, and the Conservatives were voted in to do something about that. They are doing something about that. It's not without its snags, and I accept that.
Tell me about the snags. What are the snags?
Well, we talked about it already. I think the phone line was pretty sort of dumb politics, really. You don't want people who are already on the breadline having to, if you have 20 minutes on the phone, it's costing 40 quid to sort out your benefits. That's ridiculous, and I'm glad that's gone. But, this isn't some huge conspiracy. That wasn't sort of dreamt up by a Conservative minister. These things just happen. You pay for that as you would pay to phone any MP. But look, I will defend this policy, because I've seen the evidence of it.
But we've dealt with that snag, and it seems it has been dealt with.
Yeah.
What about the waiting time?
Well, we'll see what happens. Look,
you want to see change on that, do you not?
Yes, I do. I'm confident the government is listening. The Prime Minister stood in the House of Commons herself and said, "I'm listening to this debate." David Gawker said the same thing. They want to get this right. There's this whole sort of caricature, if you like, of idealised politics where the Tories just put their fingers in the ears and crack on. It just doesn't work like that. They want to get this right because this will improve the lives of people in constituencies up and down the country. And I know they want to get it right. I know it's genuine, and I'm sure we will.
Well, I mean, to that end, were you disappointed then with the government's attitude last week in that Opposition Day debate when, you know, they put up the white flag, turned tail and didn't take part in the vote? If this is a flagship policy, which it clearly is, it's fundamental restructuring of the whole benefits system, one of the biggest shake-ups perhaps since benefits were introduced. Why is the government, like you, not proud of its own policy and prepared to defend it?
Well, I think there are, you know, and we mustn't misrepresent what last week was about. I mean, it was an Opposition Day debate. Nothing is going to change off the back of that. It's not going to affect government policy. If the government really was to disrespect it, no one would have spoken in it and nobody would have turned up. The thing is, that was an Opposition Day debate. It doesn't mean anything. What is crucial is we get this right to the people it means something for, and that's what I'm interested in.
The people it means something for have to hear. Politicians have to hear the government, do they not, saying why this is a good thing?
Yeah, and they have. They have. Throughout that debate, you had Damien Hines and David Gork, who, to be fair, have done a brilliant job on this in espousing the benefits of this and recognising where it needs improvement, like around the helpline. So let's not demonise it. It's a great policy. Let's get it right and get on with it and implement it.
Well, an emergency debate tomorrow, as we both know as well, on the same issue. Do you want to see a more four-square defence of the policy and perhaps some more of a hint, at the very least, of what's going to change about its implementation?
I'll go into tomorrow's debate as much as last week's debate. I'm working as hard as I can to, to get the Conservative Party to implement a policy in the correct manner that is fair, that is compassionate, that is modern and forward-thinking. And I'll continue to do that work both in public, in the debating chamber, and also in private.
I mean, if there is no fix to the snags, would you consider voting against the government if it ever gets to a vote on it?
I'm confident that when this policy comes through, it will be in a manner in which I can and will vote for it, yeah.
Good to see you, Mr. Mercer. Thank you very much indeed. Johnny Mercer there.